I'm Cesar,
I'm Light.
Hello everyone, I'm Kishira Olafadeko.
and welcome to the
Unfiltered
Podcast.
Just imagine the shekere is with me. Just imagine
I
it.
need to buy this
Shekere
shekere.
We would
thing.
buy
I
it.
need to. Please remind me. I need to.
Yes.
I need to.
Yes.
But by the way, you're looking good.
I'm always
Kisha,
looking
just
good.
It's
giving
the
us
confidence
this.
for me.
Are
I'm
you
always
too?
looking
You're
Yes,
just
it's
giving us
needed,
those
it's
teas.
needed,
See your
it's needed.
teas. So,
It's even light on that she just shaking. After 2 kids, you're eating us with
Do you
your beauty.
get?
Back to back. Bethel is
You've
just
not
showing
looked at
you.
Cesar yet.
Sesa is always beautiful and all of that we know. But your own today is like extra special. Even the necklace is given. Every
God.
single thing is given.
Original.
I will have
antique
asked you to
piece.
stand up and show them, but
Jesus
I don't
is
want to
taking
stress
care of
you.
me. That's
It's
the
always taking care of you.
All right, ladies. So on today's topic, we're talking about breaking the taboo conversations around premarital sex, guys. Yes, it calls
They are the
for
one that will
that.
clear the show. They are the one that are doing bad things. They are
So I'm
doing
going
bad
to come
things.
to you first, Gishi. Wait
Why?
first. So we were talking about premarital sex, right? So what is your stance on premarital sex? Because for me, my stance, coming from where I'm coming from, my house, my
Please, where
family,
you
my
coming from?
background,
Where?
my background, I feel like it's not, my
You never
stance
thought
on
it
it
was
was,
bad.
I always thought it was bad. From where I'm, my mother will sound it in your ear.
Yeah.
She will, you don't want to wear a wedding gown, you don't want to, she will, you get pregnant to do it. So coming from that, my own stance is I saw it as it's not it. It's a
Yeah.
no for me, you know. So for you, what is your stance, or what was your stance on premarital sex?
Premarital sex. I would say, and my stand wasn't informed by anything family related. It was more or less like something I saw projected through media and all of that, and the society
Okay.
that we kind of live in. So I actually thought it was okay at some point, but I had always knew scripturally that it was wrong. But
Okay.
I made the personal decision that I would decide that it was okay for me, right? Because of the fact that the society we currently live in, and it has nothing to even do with our geographical location, right? But I feel like it's a global thing. Almost premarital sex has become a normal thing today, right? So I felt it was okay, which was why I was comfortable not indulging it without stress or overthinking it, right? But at some point, all of that changed. So that was like a perception I had back then and all of that. But that's no longer the perception I hold on to right now.
Okay. So for like we're both married, okay. So before marriage, what was your stance?
Yeah, you need to highlight that
Yes.
before marriage.
Before marriage, what was
She
your stance?
avoid me. Avoid me.
You need to
So,
tell us,
yeah.
were you doing bad things before marriage?
So yeah,
So
before marriage.
yeah, before marriage, right? I think it's an African home thing, right?
Yeah.
Morally, it's not something that is accepted.
Yes.
Parents will drum it into our ears, especially mothers. Wonder why our fathers were never really interested.
Well, my
But
mother
your
was
mom-
actually.
Okay. But for mothers, my mom drummed it into me. I remember while Kish was speaking, I remembered something that happened when I was still very young. So at some point in my life, when I started seeing my period, my period wasn't constant. It wasn't consistent. I don't know. So I can see my period this month and not see it for the next 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
So the first time my mom noticed
Noticed.
that this was going on with me,
This is
Mom came
her
for me.
story.
Yeah, draw.
what have you done? In fact, she gave me a deadline and said, if,
Whoa.
we don't-
Missing
if it
period.
doesn't
You
come,
don't find it.
if we do not find your period, there's a problem. And at that time I was so angry because first we didn't have a relationship that allowed for us to have a conversation about sex, mother to daughter, things like that. The only thing we know is do not hug man.
No near man.
Don't near
No
man.
near man.
Don't let man touch you. Conversations around that even built in fear in us.
Yes.
And we accepted what they
Actually
told
fear.
us. Yes.
Yeah.
We accepted it. And so when she came at me with all the threats and all, In fact, I think 2 days after the thing just came, and she was like,
wanted
God
to
save
save
you. God
you
save-"
because
And in
your
my
life
mind,
was
I'm
on
like,
the
God save
line.
me from what exactly? Do you get?
From the fear of mommy.
But so yeah, from I don't know when, I think I grew up knowing that premarital
wrong.
sex is
Was
a
a no-no.
no
Keep
no.
yourself till wedding
You
night.
know, from she would say biblically, she would say how society would laugh at her and laugh at me, you know, how it's not accepted, you know, so many there were so many factors, right, to
consider.
So it was a no-no
consider.
for you.
So it was a no. It wasn't something to even think or
About.
Okay, so
consider.
we know that it's a struggle now between the worlds. Now coming down to us as Christians, we know
Yeah.
it's a no-no.
Yeah.
And we know that God stands on premarital sex is a no-no. He says
Yes.
even in the Bible, say flee.
Flee.
You
Every-
get why?
Take off.
every
Flee.
appearance, yeah.
You know. But now we know the constant struggle between the world views and
The
our
world
views
view.
as Christians, and we see the struggle. There's
Yeah.
always they are always countering. This one is saying it, somebody in church is saying this, outside is saying this, So I want to know your own take on it. What do you feel? What's your take on this whole struggle between the
Constant struggle and all
media,
of that.
the views of the media outside, and we as Christians on our celebrities, people you look up to, your what they call it, your couple goals or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What's your take on this? Because to me, I feel like there's just too much struggle between us.
Movie.
Like
Well, I would
the
say,
media is just doing so many.
to be very honest, I think one thing that has helped me is getting to a stage where I no longer see some things as struggle per se. And this is what I'll explain that. Understanding, I feel like when people understand their ideal and they are brought up with the ideal, it's easier for them to stick with the ideal.
Yeah.
But in a situation where you never lived according to the ideal, and you now have the chance to come to the knowledge of what the ideal standard is, and you're able to like make the decision that you want to live by it, God is going to strengthen you to live by it. That's what I mean by it's not a struggle. In the sense that it's a decision you have to first make by yourself that this is what you want to honor. Because there are people that are not Christian that celibate.
Yeah.
True.
And celibacy is not the same as purity.
True.
They just choose to abstain from sex for whatever reason they
Yes,
decide,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people that if those people can decide they want to do it, how much more you than I have an advantage over them.
Yes.
This is what I think the problem is. Problem is that we become desensitized to the ideal, that the anomaly has become normal to us. And we're not in a society where even in the church, which is why whenever I'm talking about premarital sex, I always tell people, first of all, I'm not addressing the word. Because I don't have a problem with the word. I don't have a problem with sinners sinning.
Yes.
Because sinners are going to sin. It is their nature to sin. What I'm going to give the sinner is not what I would give a Christian that is saved, a spiritual man that is saved and on the journey of becoming like Christ. They are two different people with two different nature. So the people I have problem with are the people in the church that not consistently have no problem with premarital sex. I was talking to somebody recently. I even think I spoke about it on the community. I was talking to somebody recently where the person was telling me that they had no problem with premarital sex, and if it was going to be a problem, there was no reason God should have given us sex. I'm like, that's the thing. You're not going to put your inability.
reason
God will have given us the ability to have sex.
Oh wow.
And like, you're not going to pin your inability to control what is under your trousers
that's
on God.
amazing.
You're not going to do that. Go, don't gaslight God. All that nonsense, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me that you lack self-control to the level where there are some things that you know that it's not right for you to do. And because if God does not want us to do it, why does he allow us? Or why does he give us the capacity to do it? Right? So the problem is that we become desensitized. People, we no longer preach purity in the sense of purity. I tell people that if you come to a gathering where purity is being talked about consistently, it would naturally flow. It's like a river. It would flow into some area. That was what happened to me. When I decided I was no longer going to have sex anymore, it was not a matter of somebody told me that premarital sex was bad. It was a matter of that I became so conscious of the need for me to live a pure life because of this verse, Matthew 5.
Conscious
When the Bible
of who you
says that
are.
the pure,
Yes.
only the pure shall see
Thanks to
Christ.
yeah.
Only the pure. And I knew that premarital sex was
that
a form of impurity.
Yeah.
So at that moment, it was one of those things that I had to say no to. Do you understand? Does that mean there are times where I've no longer have fallen down the path? Definitely. I said I was no longer going to have sex again in 2019. Right, when I gave my life to Christ. I gave my life to Christ in 2019. I said I wasn't going to have sex again. Happened for like 3 months. Fell off the rack. Right? But one thing that's consistently helped me is the consciousness and the desire that I've held on to my head. I've consistently and intentionally reminded myself that this is the ideal. So it does not matter if 1 million people are going against the ideal. The ideal is the ideal for me.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So I think that's where the problem is. Is people's problem, not the world. The work is going to be dark and it's going to get darker.
Yes, and for us as Christians, I believe that God's design for sex, it's protective and not necessarily restrictive. That's what we don't get. I read a scripture, 1 John 5:4. It says, because we have become God's children, we can live in a good way. We can refuse to live like people who belong to this world. We are able to win against the wrong ways of this world because we trust Jesus Christ. Okay. First of all, I believe that you need to know who you are. You have God. You are not of the world. Like you said, you don't have a problem with the world. You have a problem with we in church doing these things. The media shouldn't control us.
Yeah.
Their views shouldn't be our business. Your stance on premarital sex should be God's stance. What does God say on it?
Yeah.
And follow it thoroughly.
T.
To the teeth. So I have a problem when Christians are they're just being conformed. I will test him. What are you testing, really?
It's
God is
mental.
protecting you. Okay, you do this with Ade, you do this with Femi, you have 5 breakups.
So tells are real.
Come on now. You are taking in spirit. You can't do. God knows why He's protecting you. He's not
Yes.
saying, He's not telling not to enjoy. He knows why He kept sex in the confines of marriage. There's a reason why the marriage bed is undefiled. And I'll use myself an example. I've been married for 10 years now. And before I married my husband, we had that conversation. That's another thing with people. You need to sit down and have honest conversations with these people you're being, having relationships or whatever it is. We had that conversation and we stuck to it. And I was so amazed because now fine boy I marry, So
And your body is not firewood.
I'm not ugly either. I'm sorry.
Tell them.
But I like the fact that I had this conversation and he was willing to go through it and we did it. So if I can do it, you can do it.
Yep.
That's just the truth. Your stance should be God's stance. He says flee. You are not of this world. And I think when we begin to see ourselves in that light and understand these things, then it will also help us to navigate these things.
Yeah, I also think that for someone who is listening, it may just seem like, so you guys are saying that you just gave your life to Christ and
That was
desire
it.
died.
Of course.
No. In fact, you're going to still desire it. You're going to still feel like you want to do it, right?
Yeah.
But what's most important is that the moment you give your life to Christ, you're not trying to please God. You're not trying to receive an award for the best man who abstained after salvation, right? What you're trying to do is to see that your life mirrors
The work that Christ has done on the cross.
exactly.
Yeah, because you can be celibate and your mind
And your
is
mind
not even
is
pure.
still
It's
there.
not. There's no purity in your mind. It's just that you are
there.
celibate.
And you
You
come
can
So it
be
has to
pure
be-
in the way you dress.
it has to
in
be
fact.
whole.
exactly.
It has to
So
be
you
whole.
come out, you see a fine guy. You will come out, you see a fine lady. But the question is, am I willing to set the affection of Christ before
My heart,
me?
before myself.
Regardless how I feel, regardless what is going on in my heart right now.
Yeah.
You understand that I'm willing to say, God, this is how I feel. In fact, being able to have these conversations,
Honest
because
conversation
we
with God.
do not want to, we're scared of having, it feels like God cannot understand. Like, I can't tell God this thing.
How I
It's
feel.
like, it's like that private part of my life that I'd rather keep private. And the day I'm ready to talk to God about it, I'll call for the conference call. And then we'll have the conversation. And the Lord is like, I see it already.
Exactly.
The Holy Spirit is saying, talk to him already. We're waiting. We're literally waiting to hear you say that you're still struggling with this thing or that you need help in this area so that you can, come
Deal
into the
with
fullness
it.
of who you've been, who
you've
you've been
become
grafted into already. You're not about to. You are there already. But it's now a journey
Of
to
living who you are
constantly,
out.
every day is a constant journey. And you need to let God know that this is it.
Yes.
I'm not pretending. I'm not trying to be who I'm not.
Yes.
And the funny thing is that a person gives their lives to Christ today and they want to be like, let me give the best example. Kishi marries next year and Kishi wants her marriage to be exactly like Cesar's marriage. that would be 11 next year. I'm just saying. No, you're going to go on a journey.
Day by
It's
day.
constant and it's daily. It's not like I'll do today, then I'll do next week. It's daily. So you need to be able to submit and say, Lord, see what I'm struggling with.
Yes.
Could you please help me? What can I do to overcome daily, not tomorrow?
Yeah, and I was going to ask as well to Kishi. Sorry, I was going to come back to you again because I wanted to answer. You went through these things and you had a change of leave. So what are like the practical steps you could tell
True.
people that are struggling? Because it's true, it's not easy
Definitely.
to transition or to
It's
make
not.
that big
Sounds
change, you know.
easy.
So are there practical steps you took? Like what are those things that you actually did that really helped you on that journey? Because we know it's not an easy one if you started
Definitely.
doing it and you know. So
Also, well, I would say practically it's going to look different for everybody because the extent of your struggle is different.
okay. Yeah,
And
that's
again,
true.
different people have different desire. Some people are willing to say, I just don't want to have sex again, but I still want to masturbate. I've seen people like that. And that's why I say at the end of the day, it's not even about just understanding that sexual premarital sex is the core. The core of purity is purity in the entirety
Purity,
of
yes.
it.
It has to be
And it
whole.
would flow into other parts.
Yeah.
So for people that, I will just classify everybody. For someone like me, I was a sex addict. When I mean sex addict, you understand what that means. And again, it was so bad that when I gave my life to Christ and all of that thing happened, I always tell people that God did COVID for me. I'm not joking. Because if COVID had not happened, there was no way I would not fall back. Because I was in the environment where all of this thing happened. So God had to give me a situation. I'm not saying God caused COVID. I'm just saying it worked out for my good.
Yes.
He had to give me a situation where I was removed inevitably from the situations that was consistently dragging me back and pulling me down. And one thing I always do for my own self, practical thing I do first is address that thing publicly. Anything I address publicly, the devil does not have hold on me again. That's the thing. I will fight it
Because sin
publicly.
thrives in secrecy.
Yes.
True.
So I came on Instagram. I had a blog, very popular than Kishi of Lagos. It was not a joke. Because people knew me. I was throwing club in Lagos back in school. So I became very public before everybody that knew me. So it was not very easy for them to reach me privately. Because it was already public that this is the kind of life I'm currently living now. I was consistently talking about premarital sex every day. Like, you know the way you are stabbing something. So any guy in his right sense that has to come and meet me in that moment to ask me for sex, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I've already built that level of this is
That
not it's not me.
structure.
It's not me. It's not
Yes.
me. I'm not the right person to come and ask for this anymore. And second thing again that I did was join community. The Purity Journey Co. I will always thank God for that community and for who created it. Community of everybody. It's not even for sex or anybody, but everybody that just were willing to stay pure
That's a
sexually.
pure journey.
And it's not even just for people that are single, married people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can be married and still sexually impure.
Yeah.
And some, I don't know. Can I just be very honest?
Please
Some
do.
ways you have sex that you self know that if they should rapture should happen. If rapture should happen right there when you're having sex with your husband that you're legally married to, you can't make heaven. Because why are you doing BDSM and you're holding your hand like this? Is it, what are you doing? I want
say
to have
hold your
sex
hands
in a
like
way
this.
as a married woman that
Please, what does
the
this mean?
angels, I don't know. I don't know.
don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they'll put it up. I don't know. We don't want to teach them bad things.
Okay.
But you know, and they're whipping you. Oh my God.
Oh.
Anyways, I don't want to plant dirty thoughts in your head, people. But there are things that I also say to people, there are ways you do some things because the fact that you see this thing as holy is why you approach it with holy desire and holy stance.
Yeah.
I see sex as something that is holy, that God gave to me as a means of pleasuring myself and my partner in the confines of marriage. And He did it intentionally, so I will not have to pleasure and find satisfaction with several people. It will be with just that one person He has given to me. Now, I always tell people, you're not better than me because you've never had sex. I don't feel bad for the fact that I've had sex before. I'm not even that person anymore. That person doesn't even
Exactly.
exist. So you're talking to a different person. So you can't attack me with that, right? But one thing I always tell people is this: you shouldn't delight in the fact that you've had this experience. And that's one thing that makes it very hard for people to step out and find help. The fact that they delight. You hear people talk about the things that you see, the things I've done before. What is there? Melo rare. I'm like,
Body
you're
count.
delight. Do you understand? You're delighting in the fact that you lived a very horrible life. So God helped me that my desire was uttered in such a way that even when I was not seeking help, it was easy for me to find help. And again, I always tell people, you can't put before yourself some things and expect yourself to not feel the desire for sex.
Okay, so I want to ask, or I want to add. You talked about pleasure between you and your husband. So for people now that engage in these things because they feel like they need to test this merchandise, like they say, they need to test
Still a merchandise.
this merchandise. Do you understand? Like,
Yeah.
what do we say about those? Because
think
they feel like I need to make sure that this person is sexually compatible with
Compatible
me
with
and
me.
all
I
of that.
can
That's why
shoot
they are
it,
engaging in
guaranteed.
this kind of thing. So what would you now say about that one?
I really think that portrays lack of trust in God's ability to send you the right
you.
person. Because you want to do everything in your
To make everything right for
you want to
yourself
do
in your
things
own
for
power.
yourself, right? You remember when we're having conversations about friendships, and Kishi said the Lord reminded her, you did not bring these people into
you.
your life.
No.
I may have given you a gift that can bring men into your life, but it doesn't mean that you did it in of yourself.
Yes.
Right? So even in this context, people do it because they want to be sure. They want to
Guarantee
they-
success in
yes,
that
for
area
themselves. And at the end of the day, you did it for yourself. You did it by yourself for yourself. So there's no I give glory to God. I remember having conversations with my siblings, right, at home. And we're talking about, sex, marriage and all that. And, my sister was asking why is it that marriages experience hiccups? Especially at the early stage, right? And these hiccups are not things that are very easy, but these people are not willing to sit down,
And
walk
address them.
through the journey, and then come out on the other side whole. And then I was telling her that when it comes to the context of marriage, it is God's design. Marriage is God's design.
Yes.
God originated it. It wasn't man-made. It wasn't the afterthought of one man or Adam just woke up one day and said, I want to do something for myself. Now, the moment a person gets married outside of God, you're doing your own thing. So whatever order, whatever principle that you would use to run your marriage is your principle.
Yes.
It's your order.
Which is liable to fail.
It's
Yes.
liable to fail. So when things begin to fall apart, it has nothing to do with God. However,
Definitely.
can it be redeemed? Yes.
Definitely can.
Because you now have to go back to the person with the
That
manual.
gave it to you.
However, when people who are in God get married to each other, in that marriage, they will always go back to God for
Who is the
how
foundation?
do I sort this out?
How do
How
we
do I
get
get
help in
through
this
this
area?
hiccup?
Yeah.
How do I, so the
Taking
same
God's
thing,
stance is
Yes.
where you honor God, you're taking God's stance. Where you honor God,
and it shows that you
definitely- yes.
trust Him.
Yeah.
I would like to say something to that question that you asked. If there's one thing I've learned, is that God has wisdom for everything.
Exactly.
Because in the actual sense, there are people who they followed God's will, they didn't do sexual compatibility, whatever, and they got married and realized that, so we have a problem here. They get help. That's why
They
we have
seek help,
There are
yes.
Christian sex therapists nowadays.
True.
I had
Anyone?
one guy where in a talking state and he was telling me something that as a result of
Is that she
something
said
that
talking
happened.
stage?
Gets me all the time.
I have a lot of just I think I should open a podcast for talking stage realities. Anyways, and I told him, I said, you think this is going to face me? It's not. If God say you are the one, we'll get help. That's the list of our problem.
Yeah.
That's the list of compatibility I
Yeah.
need. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So God is able to help.
And it's how the enemy has lied to us
Yeah.
and made us believe, or make people believe, that sex is the core issue in marriage. It's like it's preamble. It's there are other things. I was listening to a lady say that she had been in relationships where she was cheated, things like that happened, and when she was about to get married, the core for her was, "She don't cheat on me." But when she now got into marriage, she realized that you can be cheated financially. You can be cheated in every other area. So cheating on you with another person is not the whole thing to marriage. So it is as though our eyes are on sex and it's as if sex
neglect
is
other part, that
everything.
if sex is okay,
Yes,
we'll be
it's
fine.
everything.
What we'll just say, I would just like to encourage anyone out there going through or struggling through this phase. Like the Bible says, it's common to man. Somebody has gone through it. Somebody has gone through it. You just need to sit down and take your stance on premarital sex. And God's stance is it's a no.
It's a no-no.
Okay, you can seek help, like Kishi said. You can find community. You can be open about it, and I'm sure that your journey would definitely pick up, and you will get the help that you need.
Yeah.
But for us as Christians, like I said to my Christian people, it's a no. God says flee, so flee. Okay, so this episode,
We've done it, and I believe this episode is going to trigger a lot of questions,
Oh,
a lot
yes,
of comments.
yes.
And
Please
we're
send
ready.
your questions, it's fine.
Right.
You can send them
Yes.
in. God has answers.
All
for all of
right,
them.
thank you so much, and we'll
Thank
see you
you.
guys on the next episode of the Unfiltered
Podcast.
Podcast.
Bye.